Amelia Needs a New Home. By Sarah Marks. A prequel story. From Love and War in Woodhouse Hall. 21st Century Austen 3.5. I can't take it anymore, I finally said. Why are you so anxious? Gwen and I were sitting on the public beach close to Steve's parents' summer cottage. The three of us had come down for the long 4th of July weekend. Steve's parents were so happy to finally meet Gwen that they allowed her to bring me with them. I knew, when I set them up a year ago, that Gwen and Steve would be perfect together. Meeting his parents only confirmed it. Like Steve, they were easygoing and generous. We had been there for 24 hours, and I was more relaxed than I had been in forever. That changed this afternoon after we had lunch. The three of us walked down to the busy public beach, set up our stuff, put on sunblock, and settled on our blankets for the afternoon. Gwen was the only one who wasn't relaxed. I had lived with her for 2 years and knew the signs of her anxiety. She kept adjusting her position in the sun, adjusting the umbrella, reapplying the sunblock, and taking her sunglasses on and off. I'm sorry. I just can't get comfortable. That's not true, and you know it. Just tell me what's wrong so I can help you find a solution. Imogen with Steve. What? I'm moving in with Steve, she said after taking a deep breath. When? In the fall. My head spun off in at least 5 different directions. I had been so right to set them up. No matter what Adam said, I knew something was bothering her. I can't wait to tell Adam how right I was. And wait, she and I were going to share an apartment. But we have an apartment and just have to email the signed lease, I finally said. I know, and I feel shitty about it. I sat up and bit and rolled on my side, resting on my elbow. This is what I get for being such an awesome matchmaker. You're mad, aren't you? I considered my emotions. No, not really. I like being right more. Gwen didn't respond. This explained why she had been dragging her feet about the apartment lease, why she wasn't interested in shopping for things we would need, or even picking posters to put up on the walls. You can't afford the apartment without me, she reminded me. Don't worry, I'll figure it out. Maybe I can still get a dorm room. Gwen only responded with a laugh. She didn't know me that well if she doubted my ability to get a dorm room. Does this mean you're going to rent a single apartment instead of a double? Adam asked me. We were talking over video chat in a Dunkin' Donut. The internet connection at the cabin was lackluster, and the network was spotty. I had offered to go on a snack and coffee run since I needed to be alone to plan. I had half a dozen donuts and drinks for everyone sitting on the table. I was tempted to start eating a donut as we chatted but resisted. I'm going to see if I can still get a dorm room. Maybe I'll get lucky, and someone had decided to get an apartment instead of the dorm room. Adam didn't respond. He just stared at the screen, his eyes looking slightly off-center. Amelia, he said, letting out a huge sigh, I know you seem to think you're lucky, but I can assure you that there are no rooms available. They're already adding temporary beds to rooms, so they have them for the freshmen. I could trust Adam to be honest with me, even if it wasn't what I wanted to hear. It didn't stop me from pouting a little. I'm getting emails every day about room changes as people come and go, but they're filled in almost immediately, he added and showed me his phone screen like I could see what it said on there. Adam was going to be a resident assistant in the fall. The floor RAs were getting information about the students living on their floor so they could prepare for move-in day and problems that could come up. He had been very secretive about what kind of information he got, insisting that it was unethical and possibly illegal for him to share personal details about other students. That means there may be a chance. People may decide to move off campus at the last minute or just go to a different school. I'm in student government. I bet that will help, I said. You can try, but you really would do best talking to someone on the inside of the housing office. Like someone who works for a dorm? Sure. Like someone who knows when rooms open and can tell them I would be a good fit? I guess. Like my best friend in the entire world who's an RA and would love to have me living on his floor? Adam just leaned over and, even though I couldn't actually see it, put his head on his desk. I knew the gesture well. It meant I had hit pay dirt and he had hoped I wouldn't realize it. Amelia, why can't you just rent an apartment? I can't afford an apartment without a roommate. I'm sure Steve couldn't either, but he happens to be in love with Gwen and wants to live with her anyway. Then find someone else. Everyone I know already has roommates in apartments and dorms. You should have signed the lease already. Should've but didn't. Obviously, Gwen avoided finalizing our lease because they wanted to do this. And you're not angry at her because this proves you were right about them as a couple? I smiled at him. He didn't need to be reminded that I was right. Think about how awesome it would be to have me on your floor. You know I can help you. It's Woodhouse Hall. I know, Adam. I remember your decision to take the job. Woodhouse Hall was the oldest dorm on campus and the least popular. I had only been in once or twice. When Adam told me he was going to be an RA there, I gave him the most encouraging smile I could, but he knew I wasn't happy for him. It wasn't like he was that happy to be assigned there. He had been hoping to be assigned the honors dorm, where we had lived for the past 2 years, and his girlfriend Mel would be an RA. When he had shared the news, over a tense lunch with Mel and me, we all had to make a list of pros and cons of him taking the job. Mel had tried to get him to quit, but I had argued, surprising even me, that these students needed him. Only Adam could understand the anxiety of a freshman thinking about how much they could or couldn't afford for the year. He had taken the job because I had made this argument. Mel, who generally didn't care for me, now liked me even less. It's one thing for you to suggest I worked as an RA there. It's another thing for you to live there too. I've never known you to be good at slumming it, Adam said. I'm not some super rich spoiled brat. I'm not saying you are. It's the last year the dorm will be open. They're building a new one. I had been lucky to get on the campus committee to investigate options for a new dorm where Woodhouse Hall was now. It wasn't a real committee. The administration wanted to placate the faculty and student government association. The meetings had been nothing more than updates from the administrators and the housing office. It has worked, making the faculty feel involved in the process and giving SGA the information we wanted about campus developments. Yes, you told me all about those committee meetings. If there was a space in Woodhouse Hall, and I get it, I would be very appreciative and supportive of the person who got me said spot. Adam rolled his eyes. I'll see what I can do, but no promises. You know I adore you, right? Adam smiled, and I knew he would come through for me. It took over a month before Adam had any news. I was about to panic and beg Gwen and Steve to let me sleep on their couch until I found something else. Adam found me one afternoon in mid-August at my summer job at a cafe where I had been working since high school. I made us drinks and took my break so we could talk. I've kissed so much but my lips are tired, he said after he took the first sip of his coffee. From kissing or talking? I told them how desperate you were for a room and how involved you are on campus, but I did it. You got me a room. Yes, he said and sighed. I jumped up from my chair, wrapped my arms around his shoulders, and peppered his cheek with kisses. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I planted one last big, sloppy kiss on his cheek before sitting down again. Everyone in the cafe looked over at some annoyed and some amused. My boss, who was now working at the counter, smiled. She knew precisely why I was so happy with Adam. She had heard all about my increasing anxiety for the past few weeks. Adam wiped his cheek with a napkin. What can I do to thank you? I asked. You can start by helping me on move-in day. What does that mean? I asked. We need to get there to help freshmen move in. We have to leave here at about 4 in the morning. Then I need to sit at the check-in desk for a few hours. You'll do that with me. Got it. I didn't love the idea of getting up that early, but I was in no position to complain. Very little was being expected of me. You will come to my floor meetings and events. Easy, since I typically enjoy your company. I reserve the right to ask you for a favor this big someday. Fair. Can I help you get your decorations ready? What decorations? He asked me. Name tags, bulletin boards, announcements, the common room. I don't have to take care of that. The dorm people do it. Are you sure? I asked, thinking of my past RAs who had been obsessed with making things cute. Of course, I'm sure. It's not on the list of things I'm responsible for. I was positive he was wrong, but maybe it was the difference between men and women in the position. Anything else? I asked. I'm sure I'll think of things. You're my slave for a year. I raised my eyebrow and said nothing. Okay, maybe not my slave, he said with a grin. You're my hero. I love you. I know, he said before taking another sip of his coffee. I could tell, from the self-satisfied look on his face, that he was enjoying being my hero and making a Star Wars reference. I pretended to be oblivious to the latter. I logged into the housing website and my personal account. I was on Adam's floor. I could see a floor plan, where his room was located and where mine was. My roommate, who had filled out her profile back in May, was a freshman named Jenna. She didn't live too far away from me, just in a different town here on the South Shore. I considered meeting her, but noticed that she posted that she was on a family vacation in Maine until classes started. I updated my profile, having not done it since I was a freshman myself, and sent her a quick message with my contact information. She quickly texted me, and we started discussing what things we wanted to bring with us and what we should buy after we get into the room. If my luck with Gwen was any indication, we would be perfectly fine as roommates. I was excited about what the new year would bring, even if I was in the last dorm I ever expected to live in. Do you want to read more? This book is in A Little More Woodhouse Hall, a short story companion book. Also read Love and War in Woodhouse Hall to learn how Amelia survives a year in Woodhouse Hall and the mess she makes there. Like or subscribe to this YouTube channel for more audiobooks and more.